The Galactic Assembly's message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning, transmitted simultaneously to every screen on Earth. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the United Earth Defense Command Center, watching the alien delegation's hologram hover above the central display. The beings called themselves the Ardani, tall, crystalline creatures whose bodies seemed to shimmer with internal light. "Your species has managed to achieve rudimentary spaceflight," the lead delegate stated, its voice resonating with artificial translation. "While this qualifies Earth for official contact, understand that you rank among the lowest tier of civilizations we monitor." Chen's jaw tightened, but she maintained her diplomatic composure. Around her, other military leaders and politicians shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't humanity's first interaction with the Galactic Assembly. They had been observing Earth for months, conducting their civilization assessment, while refusing any meaningful dialogue. "The Assembly has designated Earth as a Category 4 developing world," the Ardani continued. "You will be permitted limited trade rights within controlled sectors. Your military capabilities will be restricted. This is for your own protection, of course." Of course, Chen thought bitterly. She had spent the last 6 months studying the Assembly's hierarchy of civilizations. Category 4 was just one step above primitive pre-spaceflight species. It meant Earth would have no real voice in galactic affairs, no right to expand beyond their solar system without permission, and no ability to develop technologies the Assembly deemed too advanced. "We appreciate the Assembly's guidance," Chen responded carefully. "Earth looks forward to learning from more established civilizations." The Ardani's crystalline form flickered with what might have been amusement. "Your appreciation is noted. The Assembly has appointed the Ardani Collective as Earth's primary contact and overseer. We will begin implementing the necessary restrictions within one standard cycle." As the hologram faded, the room erupted in heated discussion. But Chen remained silent, her mind already racing with possibilities. She had seen this coming, had been preparing for it since the Assembly ships first appeared in Earth's orbit. "They think we're primitive," she said finally, cutting through the chaos. The room fell quiet. "They expect us to be grateful for their patronizing oversight, to accept our place at the bottom of their hierarchy." She turned to face the assembled leaders, her expression hard. "But they don't understand humanity. They see our current technology level and assume that's all we're capable of. They don't see our potential, our drive to innovate, to overcome, to surpass expectations." "What are you suggesting?" asked General Santos, his eyes narrowing. "The Assembly's technological advantage is overwhelming. We've all seen the reports." Chen smiled slightly. "They have better ships, better weapons, better shields, yes, but they've grown complacent. They rely on brute force and overwhelming superiority. They've forgotten what it means to be the underdog, to have to think creatively just to survive." She activated a secure holographic display, showing schematics that only a handful of people on Earth had seen. "For the past 6 months, while they've been studying us, we've been studying them. And we've discovered something interesting, a blind spot in their detection systems, a fundamental flaw in how they perceive reality itself." The schematics expanded, revealing designs for a revolutionary propulsion and cloaking system. "They don't believe true stealth technology is possible. Every attempt they've made has failed, so they stopped trying centuries ago. But we've approached the problem differently, thinking outside their established scientific paradigms. Project Ghost," she continued, "isn't just about hiding from sensors. It's about bending light, manipulating quantum fields in ways they never considered. We're not trying to block their detection systems. We're making ourselves invisible to the very principles their technology is based on." The room was dead silent now, all eyes fixed on the rotating schematics. Chen could see the hope beginning to dawn in their expressions. "They think they're giving us a chance to develop under their supervision," she said quietly. "But what they're really giving us is time. Time to perfect this technology. Time to build our strength while they dismiss us as primitive and harmless." "And when we're ready?" General Santos asked. Chen's smile turned sharp. When we're ready, they'll learn what humanity is truly capable of. They'll learn why you should never underestimate a species that spent its entire history fighting against overwhelming odds. As the meeting continued late into the night, plans were set in motion. While the Ardani congratulated themselves on successfully containing another primitive species, humanity began its greatest technological revolution in secret. The Assembly had made a crucial mistake. They had given humanity something to prove. And humanity had always performed best when everyone else said something was impossible. The underground facility stretched for miles beneath the Antarctic ice, its existence unknown to all but a select few. Dr. Maya Patel stood in the observation deck, watching as engineers swarmed around the hull of humanity's first true stealth vessel. The ship's surface seemed to shift and ripple, somehow both solid and fluid at the same time. 3 years had passed since first contact, and the Ardani's patronizing oversight had proven to be both a blessing and a curse. Their trade restrictions had forced Earth to become more self-sufficient. Their technological limitations had pushed human innovation in unexpected directions, and their constant surveillance had taught humanity the art of hiding in plain sight. "Status report," Maya called out, her voice carrying through the facility's communication system. The response came from Dr. James Morrison, her lead quantum engineer, who was currently suspended in a harness beside the ship's hull. "The quantum field manipulators are stabilizing," he reported, his breath visible in the cold air. "We've solved the phase variance issue. The ship isn't just invisible to their sensors. It's invisible to the fundamental forces they use to detect reality itself." Maya nodded, though her expression remained tense. They had learned early on that the Ardani and the other assembly races perceived quantum states differently than humans. Their entire civilization was built on manipulating higher dimensions in ways humanity was only beginning to understand. But that difference in perception had become their greatest weakness. "Admiral Chen is arriving in 20 minutes, Maya announced. "She'll want to see a full demonstration." The activity around the ship intensified. This wasn't just another test. It was the moment they'd been working toward for 3 years. If they succeeded, Project Shadow Veil would change everything. If they failed, Earth would remain trapped under the Assembly's control. The ship itself, designated the UES Phantom, was unlike anything humanity had built before. Its hull was composed of metamaterials that could actively manipulate quantum fields, while its propulsion system operated on principles that the Assembly had declared theoretically impossible. The Ardani's own scientific documents had stated that true stealth technology could never work, that the fundamental laws of physics prevented it. But they had never encountered human determination before. Maya's tablet chirped, displaying a message from one of her surface monitoring teams. "Ardani observation satellite passing overhead in 5 minutes, she announced. "Standard concealment protocols." The facility's external camouflage systems engaged, making the entire complex appear to be nothing more than an ordinary research station studying climate change. The Ardani's arrogance worked in their favor. They never looked too closely at what they considered primitive human science. Admiral Chen arrived exactly on schedule, accompanied by General Santos and a small group of military observers. Maya noted the dark circles under Chen's eyes, the tension in her movements. The Admiral had been running interference with the Ardani for months, playing the role of the compliant inferior species while buying time for Project Shadow Veil. "Dr. Patel," Chen greeted her. "Show me what my faith in your team has bought us." Maya led them to the observation deck, where Morrison was waiting with the test data. "We've achieved full quantum phase shifting," he explained, pulling up holographic displays. "The Phantom doesn't just avoid detection. It exists in a state that their sensors are fundamentally incapable of perceiving." In simpler terms, Maya added, seeing the confusion on some faces, "We're not trying to hide from their technology. We're hiding in a part of reality that they don't know how to look at. It's like they're trying to find a submarine by searching the sky." Chen's eyes narrowed as she studied the data. "And you're certain they can't detect this?" "We've been testing against captured Ardani sensor arrays for months," Morrison confirmed. As far as their technology is concerned, our ships simply don't exist. Show me, Chen ordered. Maya nodded to her team, and the demonstration began. The Phantom's hull began to shimmer, the quantum field manipulators engaging one by one. There was no flash of light, no dramatic special effect. The ship simply ceased to be visible, as if it had never existed at all. Full sensor sweep, Shen commanded one of her officers, who activated an array of detection equipment, both human and Ardani in origin. The results showed nothing but empty space where the massive ship should have been. It's not just invisible, Maya explained, pride evident in her voice. It's undetectable by any means they possess. Heat, gravity, quantum disturbances. Everything they might use to find a cloaked ship simply passes through the Phantom, as if it isn't there. Chen smiled for the first time in what felt like years. How soon can we begin mass production? We've already started, Maya revealed, gesturing to other sections of the massive facility. The assembly's restrictions on our industrial capacity forced us to think creatively. We've been building components in plain sight, disguised as civilian infrastructure. We can have a fleet of 50 ships ready within 6 months. The Ardani's next inspection is in 8 months, Chen mused. They'll be expecting to find a properly subdued Earth, still struggling with their primitive technology. Instead, General Santos added with a grim smile, they'll find that we're not quite as primitive as they thought. The question is, do we reveal ourselves then, or wait until they give us no choice? Chen's expression hardened. We wait. Let them think they have us under control. Let them continue to underestimate us. Because when they finally force our hand, when they push us too far, they'll learn what humanity does to empires that try to keep us down. As if in response to her words, the Phantom shimmered back into visibility, its hull gleaming under the facility's lights. Maya watched as Chen walked toward the ship, placing her hand on its surface. This was more than just a technological breakthrough. It was humanity's declaration of independence from alien oppression. The Ardani thought they were containing a primitive species. Instead, they were about to learn why humanity had survived countless extinction-level events, why Earth's history was filled with tales of the underdog triumphing against impossible odds. They were about to learn what happened when you backed humanity into a corner. And they weren't going to like the lesson. The Ardani's flagship descended through Earth's atmosphere like a crystalline mountain, its massive form casting shadows over the United Earth Defense Command headquarters in Geneva. Admiral Chen watched from her office as smaller escort vessels took up positions around the city, their presence a clear show of force. High Overseer Vax had arrived unannounced, breaking months of standard diplomatic protocol. Chen knew why. Their latest resource survey had discovered something that made Earth far more valuable than a simple Category 4 civilization. Admiral Chen. Vax's hologram materialized in the center of her office, its crystalline form towering over her desk. The assembly requires immediate access to your planet's thorium deposits. Chen kept her expression neutral, though her hands clenched behind her back. The Ardani had discovered Earth's massive thorium reserves, the largest concentrated deposits ever found in this sector of space. To them, it was simply another resource to exploit. To humanity, it was the key fuel source for their next generation of stealth vessels. High Overseer. Chen responded carefully. Those deposits are essential for Earth's energy production. Our civilization depends on them. Vax's crystalline form flickered with what she had learned to recognize as dismissive amusement. Your primitive fission reactors barely scratch the surface of thorium's potential. The assembly will provide you with alternative energy sources more suited to your technological level. And if we decline? The temperature in the room seemed to drop as Vax's form shifted, edges becoming sharper, more threatening. That would be most unwise, Admiral. The assembly's patience with Earth's independence has limits. Through her neural link, Chen received confirmation that the entire conversation was being recorded and transmitted to the Shadow Veil facility. They had been waiting for this, for the moment when the assembly's true nature would be revealed. The thorium deposits belong to Earth, Chen stated firmly. We are willing to discuss fair trade agreements, but we will not simply surrender our resources. You misunderstand, Admiral. Vax's voice carried an edge of steel. This is not a negotiation. The Assembly has determined that these resources are too valuable to be left in the hands of a primitive species. You will comply, or we will extract them by force. Chen allowed a flicker of fear to cross her face. Let them think she was intimidated. You would attack a Category 4 civilization. That violates the Assembly's own laws. Laws can be reinterpreted when necessary. The Assembly has already approved reclassification of Earth as a hostile primitive world if required. That would remove certain restrictions on how we deal with your species. Through her neural link, Chen received another message. The Shadow Fleet was in position, hidden in the quantum blind spots around Earth. 50 ships, each more advanced than anything the Ardani believed possible, waited for her signal. But not yet. They needed more. How long do we have to comply? Chen asked, letting her voice waver slightly. Vax's form relaxed, obviously pleased by her apparent submission. The Assembly is generous. You have one standard cycle to begin dismantling your thorium facilities. Our ships will oversee the extraction process. And if we refuse, then we will extract the resources ourselves, regardless of the cost to your civilization. The Assembly cannot allow such valuable materials to remain in primitive hands. Surely you understand. Chen nodded slowly. I understand perfectly, High Overseer. You've made the Assembly's position very clear. I'm pleased we could reach an understanding. Vax's hologram began to fade. Remember, Admiral, one cycle. Do not test the Assembly's patience. As the hologram vanished, Chen's composed expression transformed into one of cold determination. She activated her neural link, connecting to the secure command network. Did you get all that, Dr. Patel? Maya's voice came through clearly. Every word. Admiral, they're not even trying to hide their intentions anymore. The Assembly has shown its true face, Chen agreed. They see us as nothing more than resources to be exploited. How long until the fleet is ready? All 50 ships are armed and crewed. The quantum drive modifications are complete. We can deploy at a moment's notice. Chen walked to her window, watching the Ardani ships hovering over her city like predators waiting to strike. Begin final preparations. When they return to force their demands, we'll show them exactly how primitive we aren't. The crews are eager, Maya reported. Most of them lost family in the Bangkok incident last year, when the Ardani accidentally activated their gravity weapons during a demonstration. No accidents this time. Chen's voice was hard. They meant for us to be afraid, to be grateful for their patronizing oversight. Instead, they've given us the motivation to prove them wrong about everything they thought they knew about humanity. She connected to the fleet-wide command channel. This is Admiral Chen. To all Shadow Veil personnel, the Ardani have shown their hand. They believe they can threaten us, steal our resources, and destroy our civilization if we resist. They think we're primitive, weak, incapable of standing against their superior technology. Her voice carried through every hidden facility, every secret shipyard, every cloaked vessel waiting in Earth's orbit. But they've made a fundamental mistake. They judge species by their current technology, by their willingness to submit to Assembly authority. They've never encountered a civilization like ours, one that thrives on adversity, that grows stronger when backed into a corner. When they return, expecting to find a compliant primitive world ready to surrender its resources, they'll instead discover what humanity does to empires that try to subjugate us. They'll learn why Earth's history is filled with stories of the underdog triumphing against impossible odds. Prepare yourselves. When the Assembly returns to steal our future, we'll show them that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our absolute refusal to submit to tyranny. As her words echoed through the command network, the Shadow Fleet's quantum drives hummed to life. hidden from the Ardani sensors by technology they believed impossible. The breaking point had arrived, and humanity was ready. The Ardani returned exactly one cycle later, their fleet filling Earth's skies with crystalline warships. 300 vessels, ranging from swift corvettes to massive dreadnoughts, took up attack positions around major population centers. They expected resistance. They just didn't expect what form it would take. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Phantom, watching the Ardani fleet through quantum-shifted sensors that the aliens didn't even know existed. Her ship, along with 49 others, remained perfectly invisible as they moved into position. High Overseer Vax is transmitting, her communications officer reported. Put them through, Chen ordered, straightening her uniform. Let's hear their final ultimatum. Vax's hologram appeared, even more imposing than before. Your time has expired, Admiral. We detect no movement toward dismantling your thorium facilities. This is most disappointing. We told you our answer, Overseer. Earth's resources belong to Earth. Then you leave us no choice. Vax's form shimmered with barely contained anger. The Assembly has reclassified Earth as a hostile primitive world. We will extract the thorium deposits regardless of the cost to your civilization. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Before you begin your attack, Overseer, I have a question. In all your centuries of enforcing assembly will across the galaxy, how many species have ever truly surprised you? Vax's crystalline form flickered with confusion. Your attempts at delay are pointless, Admiral. No primitive species has ever successfully resisted the assembly. That's not what I asked. Chen's smile grew sharper. I asked when was the last time a species surprised you? When was the last time you encountered something truly new? Enough. Vax's patience had clearly run out. Begin the extraction. Show these primitives the cost of defiance. The Ardani fleet's weapons powered up, energy fields crackling around their crystalline hulls. But before they could fire, Chen gave the order she'd been waiting years to give. Ghost Fleet, disengage quantum shifts. Let them see what primitives are capable of. 50 ships shimmered into existence around the Ardani fleet, appearing in positions that should have been impossible to reach undetected. The Phantom decloaked directly in front of Vax's flagship, its advanced hull gleaming with technology that the Assembly had declared impossible. For several seconds, there was absolute silence across all communication channels. Chen could almost imagine the shock and disbelief coursing through the Ardani command structure. Impossible. Vax's hologram flickered erratically. Our sensors. You can't. This technology cannot exist. You should have studied Earth's history more carefully, Chen replied calmly. Humans have a remarkable talent for achieving the impossible, especially when someone tells us we can't do something. The Ardani fleet's formation began to break, ships turning frantically to face threats that seemed to appear from nowhere. The Ghost Fleet had already begun its carefully choreographed dance, quantum shifting in and out of detection range, striking from impossible angles before vanishing again. Your ships rely on brute force, Chen continued as she watched the chaos unfold. Overwhelming firepower, impenetrable shields, superior numbers. But you've forgotten something crucial about warfare. You can't hit what you can't see. The first Ardani vessel fell to concentrated fire from 3 ghost ships that appeared from what seemed like empty space. Before the Ardani could respond, the attackers had vanished again, reappearing elsewhere to strike new targets. This is your final warning. Chen's voice carried across all channels. Withdraw your fleet and acknowledge Earth's sovereignty, or we will be forced to demonstrate exactly how primitive we aren't. Vax's response was predictable. A full barrage from every remaining ship in the Ardani fleet. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes filled space, enough firepower to reduce Earth's surface to slag. But they were firing at empty space, at sensor ghosts, at quantum echoes that didn't truly exist. The Ghost Fleet struck back with surgical precision. Ships appeared within the Ardani formation itself, their advanced weapons targeting critical systems before vanishing again. The mighty crystalline vessels began to shatter one by one, their own tight formation becoming a deadly trap, as they couldn't fire without risking hitting their own ships. Fascinating. Dr. Maya Patel's voice came through on a secure channel. She was coordinating the fleet's quantum shifts from a hidden command center. They're still trying to detect us using conventional sensors. They literally cannot comprehend how we're doing this. Their arrogance blinds them. Chen replied as she watched another Ardani dreadnought split apart under concentrated fire. They're so convinced of their superiority that they can't adapt to something truly new. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted less than an hour. The mighty Ardani fleet, pride of the assembly, was reduced to scattered fragments by an enemy they couldn't effectively fight back against. Only Vax's flagship remained, surrounded by ghost fleet vessels that shifted in and out of quantum states like avenging spirits. "Do you understand now?" Chen asked the stunned overseer. "Why you should never underestimate a species based on their current technology level. Why you should never assume that your weight is the only way." Vax's hologram had lost its imperious stance, its crystalline form seeming somehow diminished. "The assembly. This will mean war." "No." Chen's voice was firm. "It won't. Because you're going to return to the assembly and deliver a message. Earth is not primitive. We are not weak. And we are not alone." On cue, more ghost fleet vessels began appearing, hundreds of them, emerging from quantum blind spots around Earth's orbit, ships that had been constructed in secret, crewed by humans who had spent years preparing for this moment. "This is just the beginning," Chen declared. "Humanity's first steps into the galaxy will not be as servants or subjects. We have earned our place among the stars, not through age or tradition, but through innovation, determination, and the courage to challenge what others claimed was impossible. The assembly has a choice to make. Accept Earth as an equal or learn why every force that has ever tried to subjugate humanity has ultimately failed. Choose carefully, Overseer. We'll be watching." As Vax's flagship retreated, limping away through space, under the watchful eyes of the ghost fleet, Chen allowed herself to finally relax. Humanity had done more than just defend itself. It had changed the galaxy forever. The age of assembly dominance was over. The era of human innovation had begun. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, Admiral Chen stood in the newly constructed Galactic Embassy in Geneva, watching representatives from dozens of species file into the Grand Chamber. The crystalline architecture was a deliberate choice, a reminder of who had once claimed dominion over humanity. But now, that architecture served a different purpose. The quantum-shifted lighting made the entire structure seem to fade in and out of reality, a constant demonstration of human ingenuity. It was both a warning and a promise. Humanity would never again be underestimated. Dr. Maya Patel joined her at the observation window, her quantum engineering medal gleaming on her formal uniform. "The assembly representatives have arrived," she reported. "They're still trying to scan the building with their sensors. Still can't quite believe what they're seeing." Chen smiled slightly. The past year had transformed the galaxy's political landscape. The Assembly's authority had crumbled when news spread of their defeat at Earth's hands. Other primitive species had begun to question the established hierarchy, looking to humanity as an example of what was possible. "How many diplomatic requests have we received this week?" Chen asked. 15, Maya replied. "Mostly Category 3 and 4 civilizations wanting to learn our quantum shifting technology. The Ardeni are particularly interested, though they're trying not to show it." "And what are we telling them?" "The same thing we've told everyone. We're willing to share our advances, but only with species that recognize the fundamental equality of all civilizations. No more artificial hierarchies, no more suppression of technological development." The chamber below was filling up. Chen recognized representatives from dozens of worlds, some former Assembly loyalists, others newly emerged species seeking their place in the galaxy. Earth had become a symbol of possibility, proof that age and tradition weren't the only measures of worth. High Overseer Vax entered last, their crystalline form notably less imposing than it had been a year ago. The defeat had changed them, forced them to confront the failures of their ideology. They had become one of the strongest advocates for reforming the assembly, though Chen suspected it was more out of pragmatism than genuine belief. The quantum drive modifications are complete, Maya continued. We can begin teaching other species how to implement the technology safely. It will change everything. Exploration, commerce, warfare. The galaxy will never be the same. That's what they feared all along, Chen mused. Not just that we'd develop new technology, but that we'd share it. That we'd show other species there was another way. The chamber fell silent as Chen stepped up to the podium. A year ago, she had stood before alien leaders as a representative of a primitive world. Now she addressed them as equals. 1 year ago, she began, her voice carrying through the quantum-shifted acoustics. Humanity was deemed unworthy of true membership in the galactic community. We were judged by standards we had no part in creating, restricted by laws we had no voice in passing. She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the assembled representatives. But we refused to accept those limitations. We proved that innovation comes not from age or tradition, but from necessity, from determination, from the courage to question established truths. Today, we gather not as rulers and subjects, not as advanced and primitive, but as equals. Earth extends its hand in friendship to all species who share our vision of a galaxy where knowledge flows freely, where technology serves all, where no civilization is deemed unworthy of reaching for the stars. The chamber erupted in applause, genuine this time, not the polite acknowledgement once given to primitive species. Chen could see hope in the eyes of the younger species representatives, determination in the faces of those who had long chafed under assembly restrictions. The age of artificial hierarchies is over, she continued. Earth will share its advances with any civilization that embraces equality and cooperation. Our quantum shifting technology is just the beginning. Together, we will explore possibilities that the assembly deemed impossible. We will reach heights that no single species could achieve alone. As she spoke, the embassy's quantum field fluctuated, making the entire structure seem to dance between dimensions. It was a reminder of what humanity had achieved, and a promise of what was yet to come. The galaxy was entering a new era. The assembly's rigid hierarchy was being replaced by a network of cooperation and mutual advancement. Humanity had done more than just defend itself. It had sparked a revolution in how civilizations viewed themselves and each other. Later, as the diplomatic reception wound down, Shen found herself back at the observation window. Earth glowed below, its cities shining with light that pulsed in and out of quantum states. They had changed everything. Their own future, the destiny of countless other species, the very structure of galactic civilization. Was it worth it? Maya asked, joining her at the window. All the risks we took, the years of secret development, the gamble that our technology would work when we needed it most. Chen watched as a ghost fleet patrol shifted into view above the atmosphere, their quantum drives leaving ripples in reality itself. In the years since the battle, hundreds more ships had been built, crewed by both humans and aliens eager to learn humanity's innovations. Look at them. Chen gestured to the diverse group of representatives mingling in the chamber below. A year ago, most of them wouldn't even have been allowed to speak in an assembly gathering. Now they're planning joint research projects, sharing technologies, building a future together. She smiled, remembering the Ardani's dismissive laughter in that first meeting. They thought they were containing a primitive species. Instead, they gave us the motivation to change the galaxy itself. The sun rose over Earth's horizon, its light bending through quantum-shifted fields in ways that the assembly had once declared impossible. It was more than just a new day. It was a new dawn for all species who dared to dream beyond the limitations others placed upon them.